It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And good morning to the John Fredericks Media Network. We are broadcasting live from our studios in downtown Nashville. It is a frigid Nashville. It was like 8 degrees when I got up at the Leahy Manse today as we are coming to drive into the program today. Very cold. Brr. It's supposed to warm up a little bit tomorrow, but in further south, lots of snow going on. Yikes. I wanted to get warmer. All right. It's time now for the morning rundown for Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025, brought to you by The Glock Store. The Glock Store, glockstore.com, located just a few miles from the airport here in Nashville. So here we go. Here's the morning rundown for Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. Number one, it is day 3 of the golden age of America. Actually, this is the second full 24 hours of the Trump 47 administration. You got so much going on. We'll talk about some of the details here in just a moment. Number 2, a woke bishop from the Wokepalian Church at the National Cathedral used the opportunity to deliver a sermon that was actually straight out from the left-wing Democrat National Committee. Really bad form. Nobody liked it. We'll talk about that, and we've got Scott Jennings to comment on that. Number 3, the Stargate investment. It's a lot of money. It's like $500 billion. Is that what they said? $500 billion with a B. Yikes. That's a lot of money. 3 big players in that were at the White House. They announced that investment. We'll have some of that covered here today. Number 4, school choice. We'll be talking with Mandy Drogan, education policy expert with the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Of course, next week here in Nashville, special session of the Tennessee General Assembly. That will be their number 1 priority, to pass the governor's school choice bill. We'll see how that all plays out. Number 5, birthright citizenship. Yeah. Is that in the Constitution? I don't think it is. Phil Klein will join us in a few minutes to talk about that from Liberty University Law School. Number 6, in our hour 2, our good friend Robbie Starbuck will talk about all the success he's had stopping DEI and what's going on with the Trump administration. So there you go. There is the morning rundown for Wednesday, January 22nd, 2025. This is where I tell you about my friends at the Glock Store, and we've got some great news. One of the things that people all around the country love about the Glock Store is their recurring gun giveaway sweepstakes. Now, since last October, 8 lucky people have won the factory stock Glock of their choice just for entering the sweepstakes. Well, now we're in sweepstake number 9. It's called the Abominable Sweepstakes. The entry period started a week ago today, January 15th, and will continue for another week until January 29th at midnight. That means these short entry periods mean fewer entries, which means you have a better chance to become a winner. You really should enter right now. To find out how, just go to glockstore.com/TAS, as in the Abominable Sweepstakes, for complete entry instructions. No purchase is necessary to enter, and there's even a way for you to be auto-entered multiple times. That's how my friend Lanny McGill works, giving back to the Glock community by giving away Glocks. Yeah, that's a Glock Store thing, Glock community. We're sure proud to be sponsored by them. That's glockstore.com/TAS for your chance to win the factory stock Glock of your choice. We're going to have Lanny McGill come here in studio. It's been a while, and he's always such a great guest, such a high energy guy. Sign up, and maybe you'll win that factory stock Glock. All right, we've got to go to. We talked about. We're going to go to the scene of the crime, which was yesterday at the National Cathedral, and this bishop, this LGBTQ lefty bishop, who really is pretending to be a bishop in the Episcopal Church, but is in fact a Democrat National Committee left-wing operative. We'll play the whole thing. Here she is giving a political lecture to President Donald Trump. Clip one.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives.
Okay, we got to stop here. It gets worse. Now, our listener Dan has sent me a text about how we should describe this person. It's very clever. It's a variant on the word bishop. I can't say it, but it's really funny. Think what it might be. And she went on and on and on. It was, and look, if you looked at the faces of Donald Trump and his family and J.D. Vance and his family, they were pretty classy in the way they handled it. Later, Trump was asked about it, and he said, well, what'd you think of it? He said, what'd you think of it? Not so great. And then he put out this, the Truth Social, just ripped into her, which I thought the right way to go. Scott Jennings, our favorite conservative on CNN, the only conservative on CNN, he was masterful in dealing with the libs over there and describing the inappropriate nature of these comments from that LGBTQ Episcopalian bishop. Here we go. Clip 14, Scott Jennings, yesterday.
Doctrinal differences here playing out in church. What do you think, Scott?
These woke-scapalians or Episcopokians or whatever they're calling themselves today, this is ridiculous. This was terrible. Donald Trump, I'm sure, regrets participating in this event today to be lectured to and politicized in a church this way. And I thought it was, frankly, a disgrace to what they did at this event. I don't know if this event will happen ever again because of this. This particular bishop took it upon herself to turn this into a complete and total circus and spectacle. And I don't know any Republican today who's like, oh, wow.
Well, it was a very
really
long
good
service.
Okay, so let's go. He's right. What do you call them? Episcopokians? Wokapalians? That was a clever turn of phrase. And descriptive, accurate. Look, he said it right. Look, maybe this was bad staff work. Maybe it wasn't. Right? Because if they knew this, and she'd been out saying this kind of junk for years and years and years, so it was to be expected that she'd probably do something like that. I actually think Scott Jennings is right. No more. You're not going to go into the National Cathedral and have somebody, instead of inspiring you and lifting you up, which is the role of the clergy here, to give you a left-wing, lecture that was really rejected by the American people on November 5th. Who do you think you are? Some woke-topian, wokapalian, Episcopokian bishop? Look, let me tell you what. You can say, was that bad staff work? Or was it something that they anticipated and that they were going to counterpunch? It could be bad staff work, but I don't know. The Trump team has been very, very good. Everything has been well prepared, intentional. I think they probably walked in there and said, there's a chance she's going to give us a left-wing lunatic lecture, in which case the counterpunch has been much more effective. And that's the last time President Trump's going to go to the National Cathedral. I promise you. Last time. All right. When we come back, Phil Klein, one of the greatest legal scholars in the country. Phil will talk to us about birthright citizenship. Is it in the Constitution? Kind of, sort of, but not really. That's my view. Back after this.
Hey there, this is Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store. As a proud sponsor of this show, you may have heard Michael Patrick Leahy mention us a few times over the past 4 years. But today, it's me on the radio telling you how pleased we are to be associated with Michael Patrick Leahy and his dedication to the highest levels of professional journalism. Michael Patrick Leahy has been threatened with jail time in bringing the true facts about that Nashville Covenant shooting to his listening audience. Michael Patrick Leahy, you keep doing what you're doing, and we here at the Glock Store will keep sponsoring your show for the good of Nashville and the entire country. And I'm personally inviting all of your listeners to come visit and shoot at the Glock Store. It's where Michael Patrick Leahy learned to shoot a gun for the first time and where he bought his own personal Glock 19. I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store here in Nashville, just minutes from the airports, worth the drive from anywhere, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star Report.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. And we welcome to our microphones on our Newsmaker line right now our very good friend, one of the greatest legal scholars in the country, former Attorney General for the state of Kansas, now professor of law at Liberty University in Virginia, Phil Klein. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning.
Okay, so let's talk about birthright citizenship. Does the Constitution say, as the left-wing Democrats say, well, if an illegal alien is here in the United States and they give birth to a child, that child is automatically an American citizen because of the 14th Amendment. Is that true? Color me skeptical.
Well, arguably, it is. You're going over 500 years of legal history to assess whether the 14th Amendment, which reads this way: all people born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. The 14th Amendment, of course, was passed to address the issue of freed African Americans, and additionally has been interpreted to allow for birthright citizenship. There's a case, for example, 1898, Michael, called Wong Kim Ark, United States versus Wong Kim Ark. Mr. Ark was born in San Francisco to Chinese immigrants who are not naturalized citizens. He left the United States and came back at the age of 22 and sought re-entry into the United States and was denied initially, but the United States Supreme Court said no. Basically, you have the ability to enter the United States because you were born on this soil of persons subject to the jurisdiction thereof. The language at issue here is subject to the jurisdiction. The Trump administration will argue that those who are illegal immigrants are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. The counter-argument will be that that language was supposed to apply to people who were born of foreign diplomats. In other words, they have clear citizenship and allegiance elsewhere, and also Native Americans who, as you know, on a reservation are considered sovereign. There's a dual sovereignty issue there. So it's not real clear, but there is an argument to be made. Additionally, you've got this clause in the United States Constitution, Section 8, Clause 4, which is the naturalization clause of Article 1, and it says Congress shall have the power to establish uniform rules of naturalization. And the court has deferred to statute as it relates to decisions, policy decisions on defining citizenship. So, you know, there's a legal issue here that's a legitimate legal issue that's probably going to result in the United States Supreme Court decision in this regard.
So if I were representing the Trump position, here's what my argument would be. Okay, well, that phrase "subject to the jurisdiction of," as it was intended at the time it was passed and it became a constitutional amendment, 1870, somewhere about that.
1868.
1868. Okay, good. Thank you. The intent there was to say an illegal alien present in the United States is actually subject to the jurisdiction of the country from which they came. That would be my argument, and not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, other than for us to throw them out.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. That's certainly going to be the argument, and that it was really a way to measure a commitment to United States citizenship. But there are cases that are contrary to that, and there also is a long history of common law. We've adopted the common law within our Constitution, and if you go back to Great Britain in 1608, you've got a court holding in Calvin's case that if you're born on the soil, it's called jus soli. It's right of soil. If you're born on the soil of Great Britain, anywhere within the colonies, then you have the right of protection of the king. So it's not an easy case.
Where's this going to? I'm totally with you on that. It is not an easy case, but the process in the legal system will come like this: the executive order's gone out, and there will be lawsuits brought in federal district court. And there
already are.
Yeah, and how long will they take? Then they'll go to Court of Appeals. By what time will it reach the Supreme Court of the United States?
Oh, it's hard to say. It depends. It depends. It really depends on the Supreme Court. I think it can move fairly swiftly, more swiftly than other cases. Because what you're dealing with is there are approximately 4 million births in the United States to persons who are not here naturally or
illegal aliens is what we call them, right?
Yeah, 6% of all births in the United States are at issue here. So it's a case of significant import, which I think the Supreme Court will want to weigh in on, and that can facilitate some swift action.
So looking at today's court, the tea leaf question that we're into always, right? How are they going to decide? And it seems to me we've got, and I'm not really sure how the three conservatives, shall we say, would rule on it. And then you've got, the four conservatives, shall we say, on the court. Then you've got Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett, who kind of are in the middle. And then you've got the three liberals. What would be what kind of tea leaf reading can you give us on how the court might rule?
Well, Barrett is one who would give great deference to the legislative branch and the policymakers. So she would tend to look to federal law to see if federal law provides some clear indication. In other words, this is not an issue that is directly within the purview of the United States Constitution. And what does federal law have to say about that? That's kind of how she has made her mark on the court. Now, that could be different here because the 14th Amendment has a significant impact in U.S. history and really was not only an effort to address freed slaves, but it was a response to the Dred Scott decision, which was a decision by the United States Supreme Court that many consider one of the worst decisions in United States history, that said that a former slave that was living in Illinois is not a citizen of the United States.
Right.
So that history and how the 14th Amendment has been used will play a role in how the court takes a look at this constitutional provision. I believe Roberts will seek to prohibit the banning of use soli, of right of soil, and we'll try to work a majority
around that.
towards that end.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it could be like a 5-4 decision.
Well, most likely it's going to be.
Yeah, with Roberts on the wrong side, in my view. Last question. Of all the amendments to the Constitution, the one that I think is the most troublesome to me is the longest, the 14th Amendment, which is used of late by left-wing groups all over the place to try to basically subvert the conservative policies. Am I wrong on that?
Well, I think the 14th Amendment has a remarkable and important role in the history of the United States. I do think that the left has attempted to wrap within the Constitution things clearly within the purview of the legislature. But that 14th Amendment is a bedrock amendment.
All right. And on that note, I will defer to the great legal scholar and professor at Liberty University, Phil Klein. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. Great answer. We'll be back with Tom Pappert. What's going on with Christopher Rufo? He's backing the DEI-friendly Penny Schwinn, who we ran out of Tennessee. She ran out in shame, having done a terrible job as Commissioner of Education. What's Christopher Rufo doing jumping in and defending her? Tom Pappert will join us after the break.
My fellow Americans, I have to tell you about my good friends at D.T. McCall & Sons. They have furniture and appliances and a lot more. They've been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years, and they're not going to rip you off. No hidden charges, no delivery charges, no charges for all of the crazy things. These are sick people at the lumber yards. These are very sick people. They charge you for cords and hoses and haul off. They charge you for all of these things. They call them hidden charges. It's the type of surprise that you don't want to see. It's like an October surprise, but it's worse. D.T. McCall & Sons, they're not going to do that. They're great people. They're going to give you a great deal. With locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, D.T. McCall & Sons will give you the deal of your life. Check them out today or go to dtmccalls.com.
Impersonator not endorsed by Donald Trump.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back. We are joined on our Zoom newsmaker line right now by our lead political reporter, Tom Pappert, with the Tennessee Star and the Star News Network. Well, just to follow up, first, let's just say here, day 3 of the golden age of America, Donald Trump doing a great job. And he's made 98% of his appointments have been spectacularly good. But because we live in an imperfect world, got a couple not so great. And one in particular that we're very familiar with. We woke up on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock and to the news that Donald Trump had inexplicably nominated for Deputy Secretary of Education a disaster known as Penny Schwinn, who served as the Commissioner of Education here in Tennessee from January 2019 until mid-2023. She accomplished nothing. She was brought in to help school choice, didn't anything in that regard, but also did some things where, they were wrong. She failed to enforce the CRT ban in schools. She put out messages that she wanted to do well-being checks on kids during COVID. It was very uncommunicative, Tom, as you may recall. 4.5 years. We did probably 30, 40 stories on Tennessee education policy and Tennessee education choices. We asked Penny Schwinn to comment dozens and dozens of times. She never deigned to even talk to us. And we are the leading conservative news outlet in the entire state of Tennessee. Then Trump nominates her. We put out the story identifying all of her failings. Oh, by the way, she's also the chief operating officer of a consulting firm run by the never Trumper, Blake Harris, who put together the campaign of a candidate who ran against Trump-endorsed Andy Ogles here in the 5th Congressional District. So none of this makes any sense. So now that all of this opposition has come out, John Rich is opposing her, Carol Swain's opposing her, Robbie Starbuck's opposing her, we're opposing her. Everybody in Tennessee is opposing her. She couldn't talk to us for 4.5 years, and we're literally a stone's throw from her offices here in Nashville, less than a mile. She could not deign to talk to us. Then this character, Christopher Rufo, who purports to be a big, conservative guy and has a great track record, asterisk, he spends a day with her, doesn't call me for any comment, doesn't call you for any comment, doesn't call Robbie Starbuck for any comment, and he just suddenly says, oh, yeah, she's going to be great. Well, you dived into some of his claims. Tell us about what you found.
Well, I'll start by saying that I, too, have a great respect for Christopher Rufo and his work. I don't think that we would be where we're at in terms of the fight against critical race theory and some of these other leftist, insane educational policies without his work. But he is extremely and fundamentally wrong here. So he put out a tweet saying that Penny Schwinn did not allow sexually explicit material in schools. Well, we know this is not true. We know this is not true because as of September of last year, schools in Tennessee are still removing books from their libraries that contain graphic sexual material, depictions of slavery, rape, etc. So if it was, did these books come in the last 18 months after Penny Schwinn left? That doesn't make sense. The claim does not stand to reason. She also, or Matt Rufo, or sorry, Rufo also claimed that Penny Schwinn said she did not authorize or endorse well-being checks, and this was simply a word that was left in a PDF document by a staffer, and she retracted it and apologized as soon as she became aware of its existence. Well, in reality, there's a press release that remains available on Tennessee.gov as we speak, unless they've taken it down in the last 2 or 3 hours, in which Penny Schwinn has a statement saying we need well-being checks. Well-being checks are great. Well-being checks are how we're going to keep an eye on the children in Tennessee throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. So I don't understand, Penny Schwinn. If you're telling Rufo that you never said this, are you saying that this quote was fictitious and somebody in your office made up a quote about you? And again, there's several pieces of criticism against Penny Schwinn that have been launched, not just from the Tennessee Star, but from Moms for Liberty, from Robbie Starbuck, the other names you mentioned, that were not addressed to Rufo, and Rufo did not put into his tweet on X. These include, again, her alleged failure to uphold a CRT ban, her inability to communicate with parents and students about reopening schools after COVID-19. I think it's also very suspect that, as you said, there's no mention of her apparently ongoing work for Blake Harris, the guy who, again, recruited an anti-Trump candidate in the most recent political election. So I'm not sure what happened here with Rufo, if he had the wool wrapped over his eyes on this one, if he just didn't quite catch what was going on, or if there's something else afoot.
Well, what's also interesting, when he put that long tweet out, well, all these complaints against Penny Schwinn, I sat down with her, and she told me that they weren't true. Well, he's wrong. They are true. We've documented it. We've got it. He apparently failed to read your story that we published like 3 hours after Trump's a notice of nominating her as deputy.
Which had hundreds of thousands of views on X, by the way. I don't know how he could have missed it if he was researching Penny Schwinn.
He wasn't. Then... I don't know, he's got like 600,000 followers, and, he communicates with Elon Musk and that crowd, which is all good, and most of what he does is good, but, you can't ignore the basics. And the basics that he ignored is, what do people in Tennessee think about the 4.5 years that Penny Schwinn, 4+ years Penny Schwinn served as Commissioner of Education? She was a complete and total disaster for all of these reasons. Christopher Rufo didn't call any of us. He just sat down with Penny Schwinn, and you could be, generous and say, oh, well, he allowed himself to be manipulated. No. We've got all these stories that we wrote in real time. The one you referenced about the well-being check, for instance. We asked her for comment on that very press release. She did not deign to respond to us. And again, we're the leading conservative news outlet in the state of Tennessee. We've been around Tennessee for 8 years, a lot longer than she was around. We were here for 3 years before she even showed up. All right.
She was still getting kicked out of Texas.
She was still getting kicked out of Texas. Yeah. So and then she ran out of here. Nobody liked her. None of the legislators. She wouldn't talk to the legislators. She wouldn't talk to the parents. She would, however, meet with Dr. Jill Biden, First Lady, and Miguel Cardona, the Biden administration Secretary of Education. She did go out and say in a clip, we've got the clip, equity is my priority. Hello, Christopher Rufo. What are you doing, buddy? What are you doing?
It really makes very little sense unless there's something that we're just missing here. Maybe she made some serious promises, but I would add, you mentioned that it seems as though Rufo did not reach out to a single person in Tennessee. Well, there's one person in Tennessee who's a big fan of this nomination, and that's the controversially kind of moderate Governor Bill Leahy. And so I find it very peculiar that Rufo is essentially siding with a guy who just a few months ago was still being sparred with by President Trump, called him a rhino in like September, and now Rufo is taking this guy's word over every other conservative in the volunteer state.
Yeah, the timing of this nomination by the president is not good, because on Monday, Governor Bill Lee's really legacy bill, the universal school choice bill, will be discussed in a special session. I've heard kind of mixed reviews on that. Some legislators say the appointment of Penny Schwinn, or the nomination of Penny Schwinn by President Trump, is not going to impact the dozen or so House members some say are on the fence. But I'm not sure. I've heard other people say that it might. What it highlights to me is, Bill Leahy has had a terrible track record in education here. He brought in Penny Schwinn in January 2019 with the idea of pushing the school choice bill. She spent 4.5 years here, and all she did was alienate parents, alienate teachers, alienate legislators. That's one of the reasons why she, why we said when she left, don't let the door hit you on the way out. Your thoughts, Tom Pappert?
Well, that's exactly right, Michael. I mean, she was brought in to do school choice, and she winds up being unable to get sexually explicit materials out of the libraries. That's what Moms Demand Action says, and that's my understanding is why there's a law in Tennessee right now called the Age Appropriate Materials Act that requires schools to publish full lists of the materials in their libraries so parents can dispute them and get them out. That was done, my understanding is, because Penny Schwinn was unable to reach out and talk to the parents and the students.
Rufo, in one of his things, listed like 4 or 5 laws that have been passed, and Penny Schwinn's claims, I passed those laws. She didn't do. She didn't even talk to the legislators. Those laws had nothing to do with Penny Schwinn.
No, her job was implementation, and Rufo gives her credit for this as though she came up with the policy. No, the legislature, the General Assembly came up with the policy, and it's a very good policy.
Well, we'll see how this all plays out, I think. And meanwhile, what is needed, what I'm hearing, we're big fans of school choice. It's very important. It needs to come in, and we support this bill entirely. However, I'm not sure that this recent announcement of Penny Schwinn to be Deputy Secretary of Education is helpful to that purpose. I got mixed reviews on that. But I tell you what is needed right now to get that school choice bill passed. President Trump needs to send out a message, and that message needs to say, in Tennessee, please pass this school choice bill. That's what I think needs to happen. And it needs to come from President Trump, not from the nominee, McMahon, who apparently is backing this very bad choice of Penny Schwinn. I'm not sure if she picked her or not. Maybe she said, hey, some bad actor in the Trump administration has said, oh, yeah, let's get Penny Schwinn in. Bad choice. We'll see. Perhaps the president will withdraw or ask her to withdraw. We'll see. What do you think, Tom? You got 30 seconds.
I could see that happening. We've seen it happen before. There was the sheriff from Florida who was a big mask mandate guy that Trump nominated, who, after a big public backlash, nomination went away. So I think President Trump and I think this nominee would be wise to do so.
We love everything Donald Trump is doing in the golden age, except because we live in an imperfect world, this nomination of Penny Schwinn. Tom Pappert, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Michael. Anytime.
We'll be back with more after this.
Hey, I'm Governor Bill Lee, and I want to talk to you about an important education bill in Tennessee. Everyone knows that education has the power to change the trajectory of a child's life forever. And anyone who's raised a child knows that each one's different in their educational needs, and their learning styles, and their talents. The fact is, parents know their own children best. They know what's best for their education and their future. That's why I'm here to talk to you about Tennessee's Education Freedom Act. It empowers parents across our state to use their tax dollars to choose the school that allows their child to thrive, regardless of zip code or income, all while making significant investments in Tennessee's public education. If you want to learn how you can help make the Education Freedom Act a reality in Tennessee, go to educationfreedomact.com and write or call your state representatives. It's educationfreedomact.com.
This ad is paid for by Job Creators Network.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Well, lots of things happening yesterday with the Trump administration. One of the big things was this announcement of the Stargate AI investment of half a $1 trillion for AI. We'll go right to what this fellow Altman, right, of AI. It was Sam Altman, I think his name. Now, what's interesting about this, there are three players. The AI guy, OpenAI guy, Sam Altman, who got started with some investment from Elon Musk as a nonprofit, then flipped it to a for-profit, and he and Elon now are at cross purposes. They don't like each other. And Elon's going ahead with his own AI version at X, Grok, and other things. But he's one of the players here. And he went out and raised, gazillion dollars. Then you've got Larry Ellison, the CEO of Oracle. We like Oracle. One of the reasons we like Oracle is because they are in the process of moving their headquarters here to Nashville. They've got a big presence in Nashville. So we like Oracle, very successful company. And then this guy who heads up SoftBank, and I forget, I guess is he from Singapore? Anyways, we'll see who he is. So the three of them have committed $500 billion of private investment to develop AI capability here in the United States of America. And I think this is a good thing, asterisk, in the sense that AI is going to be very problematic for the future of humanity for any number of reasons. But you can't stop it. It's here. And so the question, if it's going to be here, who's going to lead? Is China going to lead or are we going to lead? That's the question. Okay, we should lead. Let's go now to play this clip of Sam Altman talking about Stargate in the Oval Office with President Trump.
I'm thrilled we get to do this in the United States of America. I think this will be the most important project of this era, and as Masa said, for AGI to get built here, to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, to create a new industry centered here. We wouldn't be able to do this without you, Mr. President, and I'm thrilled that we get to. I think it'll be an exciting project. I think we'll be able to do all of the wonderful things that these guys talked about. But the fact that we get to do this in the United States is, I think, wonderful. So thank you very much.
Okay, let's take a break here. Before we get to Larry Ellison, which is very interesting, Paul from Pennsylvania wants to talk about AI. Welcome, Paul.
Hey, Michael. First time, long time. How you doing today?
Great.
Yeah, I think with the advancement of AI, we'll actually be able to make it to Mars. There's a lot of people that don't believe that we made it actually to the moon.
Paul, let me just stop, if I can just stop for you. I am a big proponent of going to Mars, not because I want to go to Mars, but because it is ambitious, and that's what we do. We do great things, and I love what Elon Musk is doing on it. I think he agrees with you. You're going to need AI capability to do it. Paul, briefly, tell us a little bit of your background and your particular knowledge as it relates to AI.
Well, I'm not an AI professional. I just dabble in it a little bit here and there. Just the capabilities that it'll give us to be able to solve common problems like cancers. And
let me hold on and let's listen to this clip from Larry Ellison. Then I'll bring it back. Because he addresses that directly. Here we go. Larry Ellison, clip 8.
The first data centers are actually under construction in Texas already, and we'll be turning them over to Sam to start training their next model. The data center we already built, it was the largest computer ever built. The data center we're building will surpass it and be the largest computer ever built, which enables this AI, which will allow personalized medicine. This is going to touch all of us. Yes, it takes.
Okay, so I don't understand all the details, but I think this personalized medicine allows AI to kind of look at your own DNA and analyze it.
Basically, what happens is, it does multiple things. It allows the AI to compare medical history between you and your family lineage, and so it's easier to spot histories of cancer in your family. It also scans your blood for those proteins in there that cause our prerequisites for cancer. You know, a lot of people don't believe we went to Mars, Michael, and I was
the moon.
I'm sorry, the moon. I was
okay. I'm in favor of saying reality. We went to the moon, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a weird debate at this point in time, and I feel like it's just starting to come up.
I don't think there's a lot of people that think we didn't go to the moon. But Paul, let me ask you this one question. We got about a minute and a half here. Get your answer. The downside of AI is it's going to overtake humanity and could be negative. What are your thoughts on that? We got 1 minute.
Well, Michael, there's a downside to everything. Look at social media and children, but look at the advancements that it's given us. Look at the internet and the downfalls that it has to connect terrorism to radicalized people in the United States, but look at the positives that the internet has created.
Good point. Paul, call again, because I think you're a thoughtful guy, and you've thought about this, and we like to have thoughtful callers on these key issues come in. Paul, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right. Up next, after the news, we'll hear from Robbie Starbuck in our next hour. How about that? He's great. Back after this.